just you get to choose. Right? Like here's the scenario. The environment gives us something which can be perceived as negative, can be perceived as not working, can be perceived as problematic. The world's ending. So we get to choose to see it like that, or we get to choose to see it as an opportunity.
So clearly that it's my responsibility now to do that for other people. If I have information and, other people's success is my success and vice versa.
Because you know what? Like, the challenges or the roadblocks are the journey themselves.
There's no big things. It's all little things compounding on top of each other.
What's going on, Coach? Right, here we go, Profiles Coach podcast, and I'm thinking that probably when this goes out, we're a few weeks into the new year, and planning for the new year is a cycle, and I found more and more that cycle expands and expands and expands, because you need to let those seeds get planted and to grow, and then some that grow, they might grow quite well. You're like, still, it's not what I wanted, throw it away, start again, and get to a point where, you got to keep going. But a couple of weeks into the year, it's where does the things sit now? Now we're into the work of the expectations of the year. So I wonder, from your perspective, how certain are you around the most important thing for this year? And I didn't read this book this year, but I've read it multiple times. It's The One Thing. And obviously the power of that book is that the more focused you are and more specific you are, the more power you can take to a particular area. And I wonder, as you're a couple of weeks into the year, or at least people are when they're watching this, like, how should we think about that in terms of those reflections? And there might be some challenges around, oh man, it's not what I thought, or probably more common is that, the year's just getting away from me already, and I'm already in a spot where just it's the same. I didn't create the space, or I didn't plan. Like, what would you say to that, Coach?
Yeah, I'd say first and foremost, a little grace and space for yourself if you don't feel like you entirely have it the first couple weeks of the year, and that might be a projection, because that's the way I feel right now. So it's 52 weeks, right? We're talking about. So in week number 2, if everything's not perfect, or if that plan's not super solidified and clear, that's okay. And I think to your point, it's about starting somewhere and tweaking it, right? We have to accept the fact that whatever we first come up with is not going to be what we end up with, and just be okay with that, or else we just run the risk of having 3 weeks go by, 4 or 5, 6, and not even having that initial plan. So as I'm saying this out loud, I think it's the idea of having a plan, of shooting for something, of committing to it, and of going after it. And I myself am not quite there yet. I have ideas circulating around of what that could or should be for me. But it's that level of commitment, which can only come with some iteration. So a little grace and space to start out with, and then getting to that place of commitment, knowing that it's going to be tweaked.
Yeah, what really jumps out for me right now is that I've often said in the past, when I compare this to my corporate experience of goal setting, where the typical piece would be, it gets to March and they say, all right, it's time to do your goals. Have you done any goals yet for the year? Like, is it done? No one really knows. So if it's done or not, then it doesn't really matter. And I thought, like, crazy, right? We don't be doing our goals in March and then have to do 12 months worth of work in 9. But also, you don't want to force it to be done and say, like, it's got to be done by the end of the year. So I can do 12 months work in 12, because, when are you really marking it from anyway? And it's got to be that you start the process, right? There's never a complete, but are you starting to work towards the things that are most important? Have you done the work and reflection of where you are? And essentially, that can happen anytime anyway, right? Just the world is set up commercially and personally to meet these parameters. So I love what you said there, right, Coach? Because are you now working towards something specific? Maybe it's just the same thing that last year, the next version of, or what's the thing that's going to really make a difference this year? Is this a year that you want to make some sort of leap? Is it a big change? Is it a reconsolidation year? Meaning you made a big change last year, and this year is making some efficiencies, more systems, some stability around what you've got. Or is it a scaling? Is it something completely new? So just having the the baseline as to what that is, I think is really powerful.
Yeah, I think it's your example of scale, right? We're kind of, or maybe context, right? We're just kind of zooming out the lens with, well, what was last year, and what is this year going to be? I think there's great strength in being able to summarize or take a step back and observe the development of what you have going on, and then it kind of helps to clarify and ushers along the commitment to what this year could or should be. I wrote down what you said at one point. You said, what will really make the difference this year? Right. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, well, like, how do you come up with something that you're willing to commit to? Is it a revenue number? Is it an income number? Like, what is it? And I think for me, just reflectively here, it's the way that I want to feel. So maybe if I want to feel a certain way, what goals do I think I should set for myself that I think will deliver the way that I will feel? Just kind of how I'm thinking about that right now. Because ultimately, I can come up with any goal that I want right now, and I could commit to it and go after it. What I want is that reassurance that it's going to deliver something that I think it will deliver when I achieve it. And of course, we know that logic has some flaws in it too. It's about the journey, right? It's about the conversion of the achievement process. So that's where I can get myself tangled a little bit with like, oh, I think this end goal is going to deliver this end feeling result. But maybe it's more about like, what journey will I love? What path will really get me to enjoy what I'm doing in pursuit of something maybe I could point to at the end of the year that I've accomplished.
Yeah, no doubt. That's it. And I've got very specific resistance this year around putting numbers onto revenue numbers onto my goal outcomes,
Yeah.
which is not how I normally operate. And
Wait, which it's not how you normally operate, that you had resistance or that you would do that?
I have resistance. Normally, I'm like,
Okay.
okay, well, this needs to be the revenue number. How do I back into it?
Got it.
Trust and faith around that. And the word you said that is the feeling for you. The word for me is build. If I'm building or maybe even creating, but building, I like actually a bit better. What am I building this year that I want to build? Rather than if I build this or if I do this, then I think it will give me that. And so there's a lot to take from that to say, to your point about the journey, if I build this thing, do I really want this built, regardless of it bringing me a specific outcome for this year?
Mm.
And if I think about what I'm focusing on, that really feels good. So like I want my practice to build this out by this year, and this is the focus. Will it bring me X revenue numbers? I can see a path to that, but I don't. So I've validated it. It's not like I'm trying to sell strawberries on the side of the road. Like it, although that'd be fine. But what my requirements are to support my family are. Perhaps that's not the road I want to go to. So there's some validation around it, but I don't want to spend too much time on that piece. I'm going, okay, yeah, it like it's feasible with the numbers. Let's just focus on actually doing it because I want to do it.
Mm.
And then either way, I can say I built something that I wanted to build. So I'm with you.
Yes. Yeah, so do feelings come into play for it? Like once I have built that, then I will feel good about it, or is that
Yeah,
not really on the radar? Okay. Yeah.
I think feelings are always at the end of that cycle, or the last piece in the cycle, or even the start of the cycle, because it's a cycle.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like then those feelings they reinforce beliefs or they create new ones.
Mm.
So yeah, ultimately for a feeling.
Have you explored, do you know, with like, what do you want to feel like? So you've built something, allows you to support your family, etc. You want to feel what?
I want to feel peace, space, luxury of time. And then
Yes.
then opportunity, then even more opportunity that comes from that as well.
So might we ask, right? We don't want those things to only come when you think you've built it. Do you think you could have those things while you're building it?
Sure, I think that's how you know that you're building the thing you want to build.
Uh-huh. That's a big
Because
lesson right there, right? Because I think that's the tendency is like, well, I'll get those things when, right? When it's built, but
right,
we know that's not the case.
right. Well, yeah, because you've got the tension between working in a box, but a box that you can step in and step out of. So it doesn't have a lock on it. You can get out of it, then go. When I'm in the box, I'm working in the box. So define what success is in the box. In that box, it might be the end of the year and a specific outcome. But in order to get that specific outcome, what you actually do is build the thing that you wanted to build anyway. Because you could go. I mean, this is what, like, if you're a pure artist, that's what artists do in any given industry, every given place. They love to. Like, my father-in-law owns a metalworking shop and has done for like 4 decades, and he loves what he does. Loves what he does. So you might say that he wins all the time because he loves what he does. But I know that there's also some parameters which, that if he had created some outcomes based on loving what he does, he'd get to do more of what he loves and in different ways. So it's always, as always, the answer is both yes and, or it depends. But yeah, I think that just dawned on me. I think you know that you're working in the right goal or towards the right outcome if you're enjoying the journey as you go along anyway.
Right.
You definitely should still have an outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, I think the takeaway so far is what do I want to experience on the journey? And maybe the outcome comes first. Maybe I have a group of outcomes that are potential, and I just pick. Well, I think this one that I want to focus on the most will allow me to have the most whatever, the most fun, the most peace, the most, whatever I want, whatever emotion I want while I'm building it, while I'm on that journey.
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
approached it like that before. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, think about a physical journey. If me and you said that we're gonna go cross country, go hang out somewhere in California, and we say that's the destination, that's the outcome. Well, what sort of journey do you want? You want to drive, fly, hitchhike?
Right.
You want a direct flight? You want to stop on 10 places on the way? Like, there's so many ways you could experience that.
Right. And just to remember that we have a choice about that. Sometimes I'll buy my plane ticket and we'll be on our way and I'll get from point A to point B. And all of a sudden you don't even remember the journey. It was just a blip and getting from point A to point B. And what's the fun in that?
Yeah. And then my mind goes to, well, in the analogy, the destination of the journey is the milestone. But in actuality, we're going somewhere to start the journey. If we were going to Vegas for a conference, then we probably will be more inclined to go on a direct flight, because that piece of the journey, although much longer in miles, is not what it's about. It's about the 3 days we'd spend at the conference and the amount of, and what would be the outcome there, right? Like, it's the same thing. So just obviously there's fluctuations in time, like how you spend the time, how much time there is.
But you brought up a good point. I've been thinking about this a lot without putting it the way that you did, but I want to get your thoughts on this. Like, sometimes I feel once I commit to something that I might be not trapped, but that I'm committed. Like, I have to do it. So if I commit to a conference in Vegas, I have to fly on a plane to get out there. It's just something I have to do. And that frustrates me because if I want the freedom, what I'm doing when I'm committed to a journey is trap myself in something that I have to do. That's the way I feel about it.
Right.
And so I'm just wondering if there's a part of that formula where I can maneuver it and twist it around, or like maybe it's just the mindset of not thinking of it like that, but there's something coming up there that is causing me to have that perspective.
I would go back to my three levels of reflection: contrast, context, and scale. Because what is the ultimate freedom is being able to do whatever you want with whoever you want, work on whatever it is whenever you want. So, a time, a money, a relationship, and a purpose. So your example is like, okay, there's an opportunity to go to this conference. Why am I going? Why do I want to go to this conference? There's a reason you go to this conference. Could be lots of different reasons. Could be this is a specific conference that I need to go to right now, or I'll get to go to, want to go to because it is most focused in the area that I'm focused in and growing my business. And then you keep playing with that. It's okay, well, why is that important? Why do I want to grow my business in this way right now, in this time frame? And then you get to decide again. It's like, well, because of this, or that might stop it and go, well, I don't want to go. I don't need to go to the conference. It's not worth it to me. Or I'm still willing to do it because the outcome I get is valuable to me a different way. Or you might say, like, okay, yep, definitely, because I'm growing my business this way because I've already made a very concrete plan that I need to get to this level of my business by this point, such that I can do this, and it starts to grow bigger. And then if I do all those things, I can make those compromises about those freedoms. But if I do all those things, then I get to live the next 30 years freedom in all those areas. So what's the contrast and the context and the scale you're looking at in order to make those decisions? Changes. Right? If your life is 100% all about doing whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want, however you want, then it means that you have to make compromises elsewhere. You're trading a lot of certainty for a lot of uncertainty. And if you have, let's say the time flexibility in order to do whatever you want, it means you've already built the financial flexibility to do that. Maybe you've built it or you've got it somehow. But there's going to be something you trade off, right? Because then if you're always in different places doing different things, then it's hard to build some other certainty. So like there's always a trade.
Yeah.
So move the levers around to see what is the right. Move the levers around contrast, context, and scale enough that you start to move forward. That's the test, right? Like, what's the one? How do I need to think of it such that I stop going around in circles and like I'm free from being trapped and I can start to move. I'm unstuck.
Do you obviously, if we apply this to our coaching practice that we have, you have a vision at some point in the future where you're not actually doing the majority of the delivery? Like, are you building your practice? Yeah. Can you tell me more of what that might look like?
Yeah. So I think there's one of the reasons I like being a Pro Advisor coach is that we have a community of coaches and build a community of coaches. And the idea is that you overflow your business as an individual coach such that you become the point that there's so much interest to work with you and the systems and the impact you've had and the network you've got that you can't do it all and you start to give it to other coaches. And after doing that for a while, you start to be able to build passively through those other coaches and you just become the lead function and funnel. And then the activity you're doing is all strategic leverage activity, going and talking about what you do in front of bigger and larger amounts of people. And then before you even get to that place, or as you are getting to the place, you've still got your personal business because there's not a, and then it flicks and you're not doing any. It's going to be, it's going to be a 95-5 and a 90-10. And then so whilst you're building your own personal practice, maybe that goes from individual coaching and then trading up with the people that you're working with, such that you're getting a higher billing rate. Then you might trade that for group coaching. Then you might trade that for group coaching and a couple of different masterminds, which are continuous. Then you might trade that for some sort of impact online. Then you might create some leveraged products, like a book or something like that, such that you can then create more outside of you as well, which then might create more network and other opportunities that way as well. And so you're growing in two different ways, but there's a point where it becomes, now I can see that most of my income comes not from direct coaching anymore.
Do you have a time period for when you see this for you?
I did, but like right now, especially this time of year, I'm very hesitant to talk about anything specific around that stuff. It just doesn't feel right now. So I want to decline that a bit. But like, I certainly got some thoughts around that. But again, it's not. It's going to be a case of working how I want to work and building what I want to build. Then essentially, I've won before I even started. You know, it's like the old thing, right? It's like, you know, you want to be the hero in your own movie, like hero in your own. Like if I got this, I got that, I got that, I got that, I got all that, got all those things, I got those things I ever wanted. What'd you do then? Well, I just do this. All right, so why don't you just do that now? Whatever that is. Yeah. I just go straight to the end and do that thing anyway. And so that thing might be, well, I'd build a coaching practice. Okay, well, then build a coaching practice. If you're going to do that anyway, do it in a way which allows you to not be stressed out through that, allows you to build it in the way you want to build it without rushing through it anyway.
So, Mike, you don't need to know the end game or what it would look like. Is like you're going to do what's aligned now anyway, and then that path will naturally present itself.
Yeah. So the further you go, I mean, like everyone's different in how they can represent this, how much time they've thought about it, right, and how big their outcomes and goals are. You might be thinking such big in your particular industry or the impact you want to have in the world that it naturally has a 30-year timeline anyway. But you can say, okay, well, what do I see right now? It's like, well, this is as far as I want to see, and it's exponential from where I am, and so that feels like it's enough, right? Yeah. Exponential function is crazy, right? So like if you're jumping in those leaps, you know, you'll be so far in 10 leaps, you'll be so far away from where you are right now, you can't even comprehend it. That's what's so cool about that. Wrap us up, Coach.
All right. Yeah, summary time here. Beginning of the year. It's okay to not have it all figured out. What we want to marry or align is enjoying the journey and the process as much as the end result that you desire. And perhaps that means brainstorming a few potential end results that you think you might want, and then picking or even stack ranking what's most important by whatever metric that you have. And for me, it's going to be what's the most fun I can have, what's the most peace I can have, what's the most space I can have while I build this year, or while I exercise this year, so that I'll not only have an end result to point to in December 2024, I'll also have the experiences that I really, really enjoy along the way.
It's a beautiful thing, Coach. Let's go do it. Thank you for watching another episode of Truth Seekers. We appreciate your interaction. So please comment, like, subscribe to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want more, check out some of our links. Links to our masterclass, The Achiever's Mindset, and come join our LinkedIn group. And what do you want to see more of? Remember, we're here to share the simple secrets of successful. So help us do that. What do you want to see? What do you want to see more of? Thanks, and see you again next time.